I would like to say hello. So Marissa has asked both myself and John Foran to facilitate tonight's discussion. Phase 2 movement strategy. It's great to see everyone's faces. So this discussion is going to be about building capacity and increasing the impact of our national network. We have some visuals, and so we're going to take everyone through those, run through the agenda, and then we're going to have some smaller breakout discussions as well.
But first, I get to do a grounding / visioning exercise, which I've never done. So don't ever say that you don't get to try new things in transition. That is for sure. All right, and you can watch the beautiful slides that Jessica has prepared for us today. So I suggest or welcome and invite everyone to take 3 deep breaths so that we can leave the spaces we've been in all day and to join the space that we're now creating together. So I'm going to take a deep breath in and close my eyes, I think, and let it out. That feels so good. I'm going to take another deep breath in. And let this one out. And one more deep breath. Okay. Let's keep our eyes closed if we're not already doing that. And I'd like to take a few minutes where I hope that we can each now imagine with our eyes closed to free our creative powers and to try and visualize the world that we most profoundly hope to live in 5 years from now. And the first question for that is, what changes are in motion around the planet in the next 5 years? What has this country come to look like in 5 years' time? Remember, we're going for your most profound hopes here. And finally, what does it feel like to live and work in your community with others? So if we open our eyes to come back to the beautiful present from the beautiful future, or the imperfect present from the beautiful future that we hope to make, I'll just congratulate myself for getting through that. Thank you very much, John. The meeting agenda falls to me next, and possibly with Jessica's help. I don't know if there's a slide on it. We're going to together guide us through a discussion and brainstorm on today's topic, which is building capacity and increasing our impact as a national network. And this will take the form of a beautiful slide presentation by Jessica, after which we'll have the opportunity to go into breakout rooms with 4 people each to make some introductions and discuss 2 questions around our theme. And then we'll come back and share the work of each small group for everyone. Finally, we'll reflect as a group on where this has taken us so we can go forward to do the work just that much better. The tips for using Zoom, we're probably all Zoom experts to some degree by now. First rule of Zoom etiquette is to mute yourself when others are speaking, to mute your audio. And the first transition rule is probably to listen to each other with care and respect, and to contribute our own thoughts with a concise as concise a formulation that can capture what we want to contribute. Finally, use the chat freely to make contributions there when you move to do so, so that others can be part of a conversation in that space, which can accomplish quite a lot that doesn't require a speaking turn. And those are all the tips I have, Jessica, and everyone. Peace back.
Thank you, John. John is very well decorated in the transition space, so I thought that we should introduce ourselves as well. Most of you I know, and many of you I do not. And so it's really great to get to know other people in the network. John, will you introduce yourself? Tell us about yourself.
I wasn't prepared for that, Jessica, but I'm at a loss, of course. I'm John Foran. I have the honor of co-facilitating this with many people whom I know. Perhaps the fun thing to know about me is that if you already know me, you might wonder what is growing on my face. And the answer to that is whatever grows between now and Inauguration Day. I'm doing this as a magic talisman for a smooth transition to what comes next. And I also make a lot of jokes, kind of, what's the word? Dry jokes. Watch out for those. Back to you, Jessica.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. I hail out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I started my transition journey in 2008. And so me and a few other friends bought a whole bunch of transition handbooks and started handing them out in Milwaukee. And we ended up amassing about 800 interested people. So it was a really hot organization for a period of time. It has not necessarily, it's gone dormant, but it is not dead. So the core group has pushed out a number of initiatives that are still running to this day, which I think is great. I am also part of the Collaborative Design Council as a co-facilitator, and then I'm involved with the Systems Design Working Group, so really working more at a national level these days. So the reason why we're here, and I wanted to frame this out tonight, is to talk about building capacity. Don released a paper earlier in the year that did a beautiful job of really shoring up the history of Transition US. And so I wanted to point this out this evening. Since 2008, there have been 168 officially recognized initiatives that's officially recognized by Transition US. And he had mentioned that 2/3 of those initiatives really sprung up before 2012, so within about 4 years. So 36% of those are active today, 14% are very active, and only 7% are actually in contact with Transition US. And so that is part of the idea. That's why we're here today, is to discuss capacity building, because bottlenecking communication just within a few people can really be a hindrance to building capacity and growing the network as well, and pushing out this movement. So this is my treat for you today. Yes, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, this isn't just a turkey either, but this is a Transition US org chart to really show everyone what is happening currently, and hopefully what the Collaborative Design Council has been discussing, what we hope to bring forth. So Transition US and all of us have a mission, is catalyzing and strengthening a national network of people-powered groups who are building local resilience through community action. And so Transition US right here, that encompasses all of this work that is being done in the network. The Collaborative Design Council, which I will go over a very brief timeline with you, came about in order to bring together the voices within the network and really act as an advisory council. To date, we have representation in this blue area here from Transition US staff, the board, and a number of active working groups. And what we hope to build and what we're going to focus on tonight is those geographic-based groups, the regional hubs, and especially the things that give the organization and the movement nationally flight are the local TIs, transition initiatives. And so I really had to look up, you know, what wings and tails do on a bird. And what I found out is that wings are there for efficient cruising, but the tail actually generates lift at low speeds. And so that is going to be our purpose moving forward. And this is not a Transition US sanctioned org chart, by the way. This is just all in my head, putting that out there. All right, so this is a very brief overview of the Collaborative Design Council to date. And so if I say anything wrong, Don, Marissa, please step in and correct me here. The Collaborative Design Council is, of course, meant to bring together the voices within the network in order to build the right programs and capacity moving forward. I've seen a few different versions, but was really started in 2016 with a number of local initiatives, and really began as an advisory board. You know, organized the movement strategy session, I think it was 2018, for the national gathering. So that was a project-based initiative, and really since then has formed a number of different working groups. So that was really its pilot and growth going forward. In the last year, the Collaborative Design Council has really focused on solidification, getting very, very organized so that we can continue our work and grow capacity. So what we've done this year is we've actually implemented a sociocratic system. We have elected as a group different roles that are going to be continually held throughout 2020, and really playing with that and playing with the lenses in which we come to these meetings together. We've been focusing on administration and trying to get organized to ensure that anybody else who comes in and joins the CDC can be onboarded very quickly. And really, you know, focusing on this national organizing framework, which we will discuss more about tonight, have been dealing lately with, you know, certifying working groups and regional hubs. But then again, and we're still going through these conversations in 2021, really catalyzing the movement and ensuring that we are including regional hubs and to support local initiatives going forward in that. We're questioning whether the Collaborative Design Council is going to take a more active role in, you know, ensuring that regional hubs are being formed and certifying that. What does that look like? And then really supporting that regional or geographic growth going forward. So catalyzation. I wish that I had more time in order to put in detail here, but this is what it looks like. And so just as you saw earlier, you know, it's made up of obviously the Transition US staff, It is made up of board members, and we've recently just elected a CDC member onto the board. That would be John, and so we're playing with that as well. We have a politics and policy group, transition schools group, which John actually started. One focused on social justice, another on inner resilience. We've formed a systems design group to focus strictly on the process within the Collaborative Design Council, and then also that larger national organizing framework. And so that is, it's very process oriented for, you know, all of us geeks that like to talk about that. And recently, there is a group that is focused on local initiatives, and that's where this question of regional hubs came up, and resurrecting those again, which is really great. So like I said, we have 2 co-circle leaders, which really focus on content within the group and what we need to discuss in order to move forward. 2 co-facilitators, 2 co-secretaries and archivists. How do we take our notes and where do we store them? And where is all the information as well? We have a heart keeper. And then also a tech facilitator to make sure that we can keep moving forward. All right, so here is, you know, there was some feedback given in terms of building capacity. And so I'm going to run through the high level on that, which is, you know, the Collaborative Design Council is bringing all of these different perspectives, roles, voices, and lenses together. Right now, because it's so heavily, you know, work group based, 3 of the work groups have really offered programming and webinars. We are curious how that can actually help support the geographic based groups. So some feedback that's been given for regional hubs specifically is this would help transition initiatives within a certain geographic region with peer-to-peer networking, cohort support groups, networking, in-person gatherings, and other collaborations as well. Feedback had been given regarding the Transition US Board to focus on a multi-year capacity building effort. And the other line of sight that we have is based on what I had just showed you here. You know, as the Collaborative Design Council solidifies a little bit more, as you can see, we might have too many representatives. Currently, we have 17 members. That seems to be a lot of voices. So going forward, would it be helpful to have a full regional hubs group that's represented, that takes all of the feedback and voices and comes back to the CDC? And would it be helpful to have a full working group support group in order to facilitate those messages coming into the CDC as well? So those are all questions going forward. Some feedback that was given as well. The direction we're heading, especially in the Collaborative Design Council, is inspiring to me. And then also, you know, what Transition US does that is not in other places is that we operate more like a cooperative, providing ongoing network calls, help desk, etc., a role that I have not seen anywhere else. So those were some great quotes that were plucked from the feedback itself. In terms of regional hubs, this is where we want to focus our conversation tonight, is in the geographic-based groups, both regional hubs and also local initiatives, if that's where you're coming into this conversation. So what we have right now, active and emerging groups here, wanted to kind of give you a picture of what's out there currently. And then we have a long way to go as well. So we have 3 regional hubs that are active currently. We have Silish C. This is in the Puget Sound area. You can contact them. They actually have a Transition US page. So you can go right here if you happen to be in that area and are interested in connecting with them in Washington State. We have a Northern California group. This is William Much, and you can contact him if you are in that area or region in the Bay Area and would like to join up with that hub. We have Southern California here, which is an emerging group, but John himself, this is his email address, has taken it upon himself to reach out to everyone. So if you happen to be in that area, reach out to him. We have Mid-Atlantic States Transition Group, and that is right over here. Sari should be on the call tonight. And this is her email address here. We'll be sure to send out a follow-up email to everybody who's joined the group tonight too with all of this information so you can take action. We have an emerging New England group, and Kat at Transition Wayland is heading that up as well. So Kat is also leading the local transition working group within the Collaborative Design Council. So thank you for that, Kat. That's really great. All right, John, do you want to take it away?
Yes, with the help of our fearless leader, Don Hall, who has the controls to set up some small breakout room spaces for groups of about 4 for the next half hour or so, maybe a couple minutes, even more than that. And these are the prompts that we suggest that for the first 5 minutes, you introduce yourselves to your room members and then choose a secretary to make some notes. We're going to provide a link where you can, if you want, enter your notes directly. And then 10 minutes each on 2 questions that follow from what you've just heard and that are from the point of view of local level transition initiatives, which we all are part of, and to ask what would it look like to scale up your largest goals at the local level? What are your aspirations for your local group if you had the support? And then to ask, how can these different levels, the national level of the board and the Collaborative Design Council, the regional hubs in your area and allied initiatives in your area, and those various national working groups, how can each of these support the efforts of what you do locally? So there'll be 10 minutes each on those 2 questions for 25 minutes in all, and that adds up to 25. The last 5 minutes will be for the group to sort of gather their thoughts on what they want to report back, because this will be followed by 2 minutes for each group to report back some of the things that you discussed that you'd like to share with everyone. So I think, unless I left anything out, we can make this magic happen presently.
So I need Marissa to give me host control. Set up the breakouts. Great. So you were saying groups of about 4?
Yes, please.
Okay. Any questions on any of that before we open the rooms?
Yeah, just wondering if those 3 questions, I didn't copy them down. Do we have a way of accessing those when we're in the chat rooms? They will not transfer over to the chat rooms with us if you put them in the chat right now.
Yeah, we'll put them in the chat right now. Let's take a moment to do that. I might even be able to do that, or someone might beat me to it, which would also be awesome.
So Marissa also added the document where you can take notes. Those are repeated within that document as well. And then we can have Don broadcast those questions after your 5 minutes of intro with everyone. Don broadcast those questions to everyone when it's time to start that discussion.
Great. And just remind me how much time on each question?
After 5 minutes of introductions, 10 minutes on each question and 5 minutes to figure out what you'd like to bring back.
Okay. Great.
I'll keep time for you, Don.
All right. So we ready to go?
Can't wait.
Okay, here we go.